So recently I've been getting quite a few comments all about my thoughts on what gear I would purchase if I were just starting out as a filmmaker, which totally makes sense. There's a whole lot of gear out there and it can be a little bit overwhelming. So I thought I would break it down into 3 different categories, but not just show you the 3 pieces of gear that I feel like you should invest in, but also various different ways that you can achieve these things without having to buy a single piece of gear. Because you might want to invest in one thing or the other or none of these things at all. So I just thought I would show you how you could do that. Hey, what's happening everyone? My name is Ryan, and today we're going to be talking about what gear you should invest in as a filmmaker. Let's get into it. Okay, so we're gonna go over quite a few things in this video. However, I just wanted to first say that it really just depends on the type of work that you're doing at the moment. I used quite a few different camera systems throughout the duration of my career, but eventually I landed on the Sony FX3, which is what I'm using now. And the only reason I did this is because of the type of work that I'm doing. We shoot a lot of TV commercials and documentaries and some narrative work, and this was the camera that was the most flexible for what I needed at the price range. But with all of that said, it's gonna look different for you or any other filmmaker. So I just want to encourage you that none of the stuff on this list is a must buy, but it's a must have to have the knowledge around these few different things like lighting, like good audio and good visuals. But I think I babbled on long enough, so let's get into our first item, and that is audio. You've probably heard me say this many times before, but most people are likely to forgive bad visuals versus terrible audio. Now imagine if you were to watch this entire video with this sound right here. It sounds pretty terrible. There's a huge difference between me using my microphone system and the on-camera audio. That's just a small example, but really getting good audio and crisp audio and also intentional audio really is what separates a really great film from a professional high quality film. But it really just depends on what you're using your mic for. If you're looking to do more interview style type of work, like let's say documentary interviews or corporate videos, or even talking head videos for your YouTube channel, like this one, then I would recommend going with a shotgun mic, much like the one I'm using right here. This is the Sennheiser MKE 600. I really love this mic, and I don't just use it for interviews. I also use it for tracking Foley and capturing sound effects and things like that. Here are a few things to think about when you're using a shotgun mic. Number 1, the rule of thumb is to keep everything a pinky and thumb distance from your subject, much like I have right now. Another rule of thumb is to keep your shotgun mic pointed at your subject's chest. That way, if they move around or turn their head, you're still getting great audio. Now, this is the mic that I like to use. However, you can go with a bunch of different options. I've also used my Rode VideoMic Pro as a shotgun mic for interviews before. However, you don't always have to use a shotgun mic. Let's say you're shooting documentaries and your subject is running around and you need to be able to get crisp and clean audio throughout the run and gun process, then I recommend getting lavalier mics. I always personally recommend the wireless systems, and now they're becoming more and more available on the market and at much lower prices. The one that I use is the DJI wireless mic system. I really love this system. It comes with 2 mics and a receiver. You can not only clip them onto your subject, but you could also use the magnets to magnetize the mics to your subject's shirt as well. Because it's not connected to a field recorder, you can hide this mic anywhere, much like I did in these examples in this Instagram Reels that I did a while back. I'll leave a link to that video if you're interested. But what if you don't have it within the budget to get some of these mic systems? What else can you do? Well, you can always just go with your smartphone, open the voice memo app, and you're good to go. I'm just monitoring it from the waveforms that I see on the Memos app. I'm trying not to talk super loud so I don't get huge spikes in the audio. But all in all, this is a way that you can get really clean audio without having to break the bank because you already have this in your pocket. And then you can save that money that you would spend on audio on some of the other things that we're going to talk about a little bit later in this video. But all in all, it's just important to remember that audio is super important. Even using your phone is going to be much better than, let's say, not using anything at all, much like this, which sounds terrible. All right, and moving on to number 2, and that is lighting. I really do feel like lighting is super important when it comes to your visuals, because this is what your sensor is reading to imprint an image within your camera, well, digitally anyway. So for me, that looks like a lighting system like the Aperture 120D or this Godox VL150 or my Amaran 60X, which is a great budget option. It's a great LED light, super bright, and is also portable and also has a bunch of effects on it. Anyway, we're not here to promote that, but that's just an example of something that you could get that is on the very budget side. I also like to use modifiers like soft boxes and things like that to get really specific looks. I also use tube lights and little mini LED lights as well. All of these are great options, but you really don't need to buy any of this at all. If you're looking to invest in just audio or just a camera system, here are a few tips for you to capture great lighting without having to buy a lighting system at all. You could use natural light. Now, please excuse me, we have a few runner ducks and they're very loud. Now, there are a few things you have to think about when using natural light, and one of them is partial cloud cover. If you have good cloud cover, they will be covering the sun, giving you a natural diffusion, and like right now when it's opening up, you have harsh sunlight. There's also things like weather that you have to think about too, but I cover all of this in another video all about how to use natural light, so I'll leave a link in the description below for that. Now, there are a couple other things that you could do in terms of remedying some of these problems or issues that you might have when filming outside. You could also use natural light indoors and using your window like I am now as a key light, but it really takes an understanding of how light works. Right in front of me, I have another open window along with the window on the side, and I close the blinds behind me to kind of control that light a little bit better. I also have a darker door to my left, kind of acting almost as a negative fill. Now, this isn't the best sounding room, so I'd probably dampen this room a little bit with maybe some sound blankets or something like that. But all in all, this definitely works for your lighting. So if you can work around your lighting solutions, kind of like I did in this room, or even having the opportunity to film outside, maybe writing some of your scenes within your script to be outside, or by a window like this one, then this could work out really great without you having to go out and buy any lighting, and just use the natural light that you have available to you. But this too can be a bit harsh on your subject, and you might want to control this a little bit better. So one way that you could do that is just by putting some scrim or even just some white shears on your window to kind of diffuse that light just a little bit more. There are also diffusion panels that you can get online for a really good price, and you can really start to control this light even better. And I talk a lot about some of this gear throughout my channel. There's one video in particular that I kind of go into depth about some of this stuff, so if you'd like to check that out, I'll leave a link to that as well. There really is so many different ways that you can make this work creatively if you're just to work through the problem, come up with a creative solution that works best for your scene. But here's just one example of how you could do that. Now, the third item on our list is the camera system. There are so many different cameras out there, and I get asked all the time, which one of these cameras should I buy as a beginner filmmaker? I always give the same answer, and that is any one of these cameras will do a great job in giving you the look and the quality that you're looking for. You just have to play around with the camera, get to know the settings, and know exactly what you want, as well as know good camera movement and composition and framing and things like that, and you will, I guarantee you will get the results you're looking for. There are a few different cameras that I would consider personally. If you'd like to know what those are, go ahead and hit me up in the comments down below, because I love hearing from you guys and I'd love to give you that information. And I'm considering making a video about this, so I'd love to get your insight on it. If you wanted to purchase the camera versus lighting and audio gear, then this might be a good choice for you. Lighting and audio you can rent later. Also, you can buy your audio and lighting gear now and rent the camera later, but owning the camera gives it to you on the ready. You just pick it up, you go somewhere and you film something and you see how it works out. However, if it's not within the budget to buy a camera system at the moment and you just want to invest in lighting or audio or both, well, you might not need to buy a camera system at all, because these days we all have a camera that fits right within our pocket, and that is our cell phones. Where is my cell phone? There have been plenty of movies filmed on cell phones, and it's the knowledge of filmmaking and cinematic movement and lighting and audio that truly make a good film. If you can only afford to make one investment and you wanted to do lighting or audio or maybe both of those, but you can't afford the camera yet, your camera phone, especially these days, is gonna be just fine. In the end, it really isn't about the gear, it's about you, the filmmaker. It's all about storytelling. Whether you wanted to buy all of the gear on this list or none of them at all, if you're always learning, if you're always practicing, if you're always doing new things and you're creating experiences and you're making friends along the way, this is what's gonna make you an amazing filmmaker. Well, that's gonna do it for me, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me on this video. If you like this video or you learned something or you're feeling inspired or encouraged, please click the like button down below. Consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers, friends.